Hey everyone, thanks for checking out our deck tech right here on YouTube, Commander's Brew. If you love the show, consider hitting subscribe. If you love it even more, consider going over to patreon.com/commandersbrew and helping us out there, getting on some perks, and help us make the show literally with the money that is given. But without further ado, let's talk about today's deck tech. It's Gargos.
Ooh, Gargos, the Vicious Watcher. We finally have our Hydra Lord that cares about Hydras.
Yes, exactly, right? And it's a mono-colored commander. We're talking about 3 green pips in the casting cost. And Gargos is an 8/7 for that 6 mana. So that's pretty awesome. We're talking about Vigilance. We're talking about making Hydra spells cost 4 less to cast, which is obviously amazing. And whatever it has this other ability of whenever you target a creature, Gargos fights something. So any of our anything that would pump spell or something like that, you can get a fight out of it. We'll see what we're doing with it. We'll get into it. But let's get right into Gargos's deck, right? Let's talk about some of the Hydras we're going to be dealing with in this deck. Let's talk about the X-Spell Hydras. Let's talk about the non-X-Spell Hydras. Lay that groundwork, and then we'll talk about the neat moves that we're going to we're going to use that with. Starting with our X Hydras, Sean.
I love X spells, so thank you for giving me the X Hydras. We're talking Vastwood Hydras. All of these get +1/+1 counters for the amount you put into X, which is boosted by 4 because of Gargos. When Vastwood Hydra dies, those counters just go somewhere else. We get to distribute them. So Vastwood Hydra may die, but the counters live on. Hooded Hydra, this is the morph one, but we're never going to morph it because we'll just get more counters with Gargos that way. When this one dies, we get snake tokens for the amount of counters. And we're talking Voracious Hydra, shows up from M20. This one has trample, which is great. We want Hydras to trample. So it either enters with the number you set it at, plus the 4 for Gargos, then we get to double it, or we get to fight with this. I'm going to assume we're just going to double it because it's got trample and Gargos covers your fights.
Yeah, unless you need to take care of a troublesome commander or something.
Oh, right this second?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're right. This can be a 2 mana 8/8.
Yeah.
With trample.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Pretty good.
So some of the non-X Hydras we're dealing with, one of the more usable ones is Scourge of Skola Vale, 2 and a green for a 0/0. Has trample, enters with 2 counters on it. So this one's relatively small when we're talking Hydras, and it only costs 1 green, but that's because you can tap it and sack it and add a bunch of counters from the thing you sacked on top of it. So a lot of times you'll create this situation where your opponents need to kill one of your big Hydras because it's coming at them or something, and you've got a Scourge sitting back, and then in response you can just sacrifice it, and all they did was they used a card from their hand to move counters onto Scourge of Skola Vale. So, and the fact that it has trample, a lot of times it's even better. Maybe you don't have a way to give that one Hydra trample, so moving them is going to be a nice thing. We also have Oran Reef Hydra, which is the big one that gets you it has landfall and trample, and forest give it +2 +1/+1 counters. This one's really great. This one will get bigger than you think, faster than you think. It's really great. Again, another 2 mana Hydra here. And then we have Whiptongue Hydra, which is one that when it comes in, it kills all the flyers and gives itself +1/+1 counters for each flyer that was killed. Again, another 2 mana Hydra with Gargos. These, and it has reach, which is great. So these are great. It's nice to have a split between the X casting cost ones and the ones that actually have a proper converted mana cost. There's some cards that do care about it later, and Gargos gives them the reduction no matter what. So sky's the limit on the X ones, and you're just happy to drop these little guys as 2/2s that have great effect on the board. So knowing all those Hydras, knowing we got the X's, we got the non-X's, let's take a look at some of the neat moves.
Working on a
neat moves. Okay, so we're dealing with Hydras, which means we're dealing with a lot of +1/+1 counters, so we want to have some stuff that affects those types of cards, and we want to give these big creatures trample and all that kind of stuff. So right off the bat, Tuskguard Captain and Longshot Squad are 2 excellent cards in the deck. Tuskguard gives +1/+1 counter creatures trample, and Longshot Squad gives them reach. 2 of the things that we really want really badly. We're weak to flyers because we're mono green, and we want to trample over, so these 2 cards are awesome little neat moves.
Yeah. So Temur Sabertooth should be a staple in most mono green decks. Certainly because it does something that a lot of green decks have trouble doing. We can make it indestructible by bouncing another creature. But let's keep in mind too, that's not the, like, giving it indestructible is sort of incidental, right? Like maybe you've got counters on it, maybe it's attacking and that just makes it the best attacker you have. A fine floor, but being able to just bounce creatures and replay them, Gargos makes them super cheap for the most part. It allows us to play our Hydras early in the match and then just be like, you know what, I'm going to grab that and cast it later for much more. So I'm okay with this Hydra only being a 4/4 for now. No problem. And then, like, you know, we did say we were weak to flyers, but if you're able to bounce and recast a Whip Tongue Hydra, you don't need to worry about flyers while
Exactly.
you have those two on the battlefield.
Speaking of, so this card also pairs really well with Paleoloth, which is the one that's whenever a creature with 5 or more comes into play under your control, you return a target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So you can be casting these big Hydras for 2-3 mana most of the time, and then getting back the other ones, and then even playing those again. Like, so that's another reason why playing Hydras early in the game is actually totally okay, because later we can get them back with Paleoloth.
Oh yeah, and then so we can't ignore Gargos' ability of fighting, so we do want a few things that target our creatures. One of the best is Rancor, because it gives it trample, so all those gigantic Hydras who don't currently have trample, we can give them trample with Rancor and get a fight out of it. And if something happens to them, we'll get that Rancor back. If we Temur Sabertooth the creature, Rancor goes to the graveyard, comes back to our hand. So that's great. For a couple of one-shots, we have Aspect of a Hydra, which is thematically perfect for this deck. It is an auto-include in all Gargos. If you do not run this card, you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong, yeah.
Right? You know, giving, again, it gives your creature, it makes your creature very large, does not give it trample, but this one does. Cartouche of Strength gives the creature trample, +1/+1, and it lets the creature you enchant fight. If I'm enchanting my 12/12 with trample, I can take anything I want out. Gargos is also going to be like, oh, me too, please, and take something else out. You can clear the way for a humongous swing. Like, this is, like, we're talking about making so many Hydras, but we don't need that many of them to have a wicked impact. There's no need to extend all of your Hydras when you have one 20/20 swinging, and it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, great, chump it. Like, it's tramples now. Your life total's half gone.
Yeah, if you're playing this deck and you get a couple of your big Hydras out, it is like probably pretty correct to hang on to the couple more in your hand just in case of, you know, a board wipe or something like that, or hang on to Paleoloth until you play it and then get the other ones that would have died with a board wipe or whatever back, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of you got sequencing and all that. Like, you don't need too many of these Hydras because they absolutely get massive.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that does happen, you played out a couple Hydras, they all die, you're gonna want to refill your hand. Obviously, you've got to get some card draw. It's commander. So mono green, I'm playing a couple cards that I don't usually play. One of them is Hunter's Insight, which I think is actually really good in this deck. It's 2 to green. It's an instant. So you target a creature you control. You draw cards equal to its power. You target a creature you control. When a creature deals combat damage, you draw that many cards. So, you know, if you're 8/8 Hydra hits, you draw 8 cards, but you also targeted it. So that means Gargos is going to get to fight something, which is going to help you get through, right? So it does multiple things in one. Like, it clears the way, it draws you cards. Yeah, this is a legit card in this deck, I think.
And on a creature with trample, like, they can't stop it. Like, some of that 20 trample is going through to your opponent.
Yeah, like, forget it if you have one of those really big Hydras. Yeah, it's this card can get out of control. Similar cards are like Rishkar's Expertise, which is going to draw us cards equal to the biggest power, but then we get to play something from our hand for 6 mana. And then Soul's Majesty, which is Rishkar's doesn't target, so you won't get a fight out of it, but Soul's Majesty does. It's the 5 mana version where it's just draw cards equal to target power, target creature you control their power, and then you get that. You're going to get a bunch of cards, and you're going to get that fight trigger, similar to Hunter's Insight.
What I like about Soul's Majesty is we choose who it is, because there's probably a world where a couple Hydras are like, I don't know if I want to draw 40 cards. Like that's
Yeah.
probably not. I don't want to draw by my maximum power.
Right.
That's too many.
Yeah, you don't want to go overboard because sometimes your hydras are going to be massive, and maybe Rishkar's expertise like, oh, I don't want to draw 60 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a world where that really happens. Like we've got things that double counters in here, right? So it's so sometimes it's only a matter of time before you have a 128 hydra out there, and then
I cannot cast the spell.
Right? Yeah, I can't cast Rishkar's expertise.
Yeah. You put in a bunch of fun utility lands too, right? In a monocolored deck, we get to reach into the non-colored lands a lot more because our restrictions are much less. So we have room for Arcane Lighthouse. Taking away, it doesn't take away Hexproof and Shroud, but it lets us target them. And with a commander that targets to fight, that's huge. Gargos can take down almost any other commander, but they're always got pesky Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots on them.
It does take it away. They lose Hexproof.
Oh, they lose it. I'm thinking of the other one. I think
there's another one that's like
Tower. Yeah,
lets you target it as if they didn't have it.
Yeah. You also got Forge of Heroes, which helps our commander come in with another +1/+1 counter, which is very relevant with all of our. If a creature has +1/+1 counters, the only thing our commander doesn't do is give itself +1/+1 counters. Here's a way to do that. And of course, Karn's Bastion from War of the Spark, the land that lets us proliferate. We're throwing around counters all over the place. Let's throw around some more.
Why not, right? Very, very solid, very strong. That's your Hydra's deck right there. This is what you're doing. +1/+1 counters. Drawing tons of cards because of the power, getting in for huge trample damage.
I like it.
It's fairly straightforward, but there's enough moving parts in this deck that I think it's going to keep it interesting for you and everyone who decides to build this deck.
Yeah.
Surprise and discoveries wise, there was a card like in this mono green deck. There's a lot of ramp. I'm not going to talk about the ramp. We all know about mono green ramp, but there's one card that kind of stuck out to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm willing to try this out. I'll try it out in this mono green build. It's Moonvoli Acid Moss. It's a sorcery that you destroy a land and you ramp it. You ramp for a forest, which in mono green is obviously fine, but being able to include a little land destruction, with your ramp. It's 4 mana, so it's a little more than you might want, but I think it's a worthy card. I probably would only really run this in mono green, but I liked the effect it had. I was able to take out in my test games some pesky, utility lands and ramp myself on the process, which is great.
Yeah, big fan. Shall we go to the budget report? X. So this is where we take all the cards, value them up, and then because of Gargos, we add 4 to that value.
X gonna give it to you. Just keep that in mind. So this one came in to over $100, like $135, and that was a little surprising to me because looking at the thing, I was like, some of these Hydras don't look like they're that expensive. There's some that are and some that aren't, but we'll get to it. So Colonian Hydra is one that's like traditionally always been pretty expensive. It actually had a pretty nice price drop there for a bit when it was reprinted in Commander 2016, but it's back up to around $11. It's the one that doubles +1/+1 counters when it attacks on all of your creatures. So yes, it's great in this deck. It also has trample. It comes in as a 4/4. It's an 8/8 when you attack with it. Like it's awesome, right? It's like the Hydra to have. But if you're looking to shave some price down, you might look at Colonial Hydra just because it is the most expensive card. And not all of your Hydras have +1/+1 counters, so there's an argument to be made that like it doesn't even hit as much as you would like. I don't know. We'll see.
Lifeblood Hydra, also almost a $10 card. This spiked big when Gargos came out. I don't know why. I'm not an expert in financing. I hope they're being played. I hope they're not just being hoarded in someone's basement. But this is the one that gives you draw cards when it dies equal to its power. So again, argue.
And gain life, I guess.
And gain life, right? So, I mean, yeah, very good card.
This card is pretty good. It's obviously better in Gargos than it is anywhere else. This card was basically like not like it was only ever in Hydra's deck. Same now. It's only ever in Hydra decks. Are we building more Hydra decks because of Gargos? Yes, we are. We're doing an episode on it right now. That's what you're watching. But this is not a $10 card. This is not a $10 card. Do not spend $10 for this card.
No.
Even like if it don't even count this card as card draw, because it needs to die. And unless you have your Scourge of Skull of Vale, like, it's not going to be a reliable source of card draw. There are much better card draw spells in this deck that are not Lifeblood Hydra. So yeah, this is some store jacking the price up, or someone hoarding all the copies, whatever it is. I think this is like artificially high. This is not a 950 card. Cut this card. Don't buy this card for 950.
Yeah.
It's not even remotely one of the best Hydras in the deck.
And the next card is just under $10. It's Primordial Hydra. It's the one that on your upkeep you double its counters, and if it has 10 or more, it gets trample. So great that it gets trample. That's a thing that we want. But Colonial Hydra also has trample. It also sort of does the same thing. So at this point, if I wanted to shave money, but I wanted one awesome Bomby Hydra, I think I go with Colonial and I skip Primordial.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna splurge, you're gonna splurge on one of the Hydras. I guess Colonial Hydra is probably just better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably is, because it's similar effect. I mean, you need to attack with Colonial Hydra. You can't always attack. Most of the time you can, though. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, you cut those 3 cards, you're down to $100, so more reasonable. But maybe wait a bit, and then we'll all realize, hey, not everyone's building a Hydra deck.
Yeah.
You know, and then these cards will drop a little more. Cool. That's what about our favorite cards?
Ooh, I don't mind going first. I'm going to say Guardian Project. This showed up recently in your Rock deck, but it's just such a good green card. All except for some weird deck restrictions. You know who you are. Every card has a different name, so where this just means cast a creature, draw a card. So great. I love it.
Awesome.
Sometimes you don't want to draw 30 cards at once. Sometimes you just want to draw one at a time. Guardian Projects for that.
This gives you great value in this deck. Yeah, this is another reason if you might want to cast your Hydras earlier than you would, just because you want to draw some cards. Like, that's another great reason to do so.
Yeah.
My favorite card is Seasons Past. Ooh. I just kind of recently rediscovered this card, and it's awesome. It's so great.
Yeah.
You're going to be returning cards with different converted mana costs from your graveyard to your hand. And in the Hydras deck, you've got X1s, you've got X2s, X3s, you've got Hydras that cost 4, 5, and 6, you know, in addition to any of the other, you know, instants and sorceries and stuff like that. But Seasons Past, because of that, you're going to get like 4 or 5 Hydras after like a board wipe or something. This card's amazing. You're refilling your hand. If you then, you know, you've ramped, so you're going to play Gargos, and then you're going to probably drop 1 or 2 more of those Hydras because they only cost 2 mana, most of them.
Yeah.
This card's awesome. This is the way to get you back in the game after a board wipe.
For sure. Oh, fun deck, Andy.
Yeah, I think you know, they did right by the Hydras here with Gargos. Like I said, there's enough other stuff going on that even if you just want to play stompy big mono green, you've got it here. There's also a little bit more for people who want a little bit more. It's fun. It's a fun deck. I love it.
Yeah, fun. It's been great. Like it's fun to attack with gigantic tramplers.
It is fun when you're in the mood. Nothing better. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. That's the deck for this week. We'll be back next week with another new one. Check out our most recent Battle of the Brews. It's our live gameplay series. It's a lot of fun right here on YouTube. And while you're at it, hit subscribe. Cool. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.